Hey everybody, this is Keith here of Euphoria Pictures. Welcome back to my channel. Right, so a couple of months ago I put a video together of my top 10 worst looking 4K franchises. And I said in that video that I was going to come back, do a video on my top 10 best looking 4K franchises. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with this video. Now I have to tell you, putting this top 10 together was a pain in the ass. A hell of a lot harder than putting the top 10 worst together, because there's so many great franchises out there that look amazing on 4K, and it took me around an hour to kind of narrow this top 10 down, and I have to tell you I'm very satisfied with what I've come up with here. Now bear in mind folks, this is all to do with picture quality and of course sound quality. There's no point having good picture quality if the sound is not equally as good. So this has nothing to do with the movies themselves, it's all to do with picture and sound, and that's how I'm going to rank this top 10. So bear in mind when you are checking this out, again, it has nothing to do with the movies themselves. And I hope you appreciate this top 10. I'm very satisfied with it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get to it. So here is my top 10 best looking 4K franchises. Right, so here we go. Number 10, let's start strong. We have got the John Wick Collection. Now I felt it was only right to put this into the top 10 because this entire trilogy is a 2K upscale. But it just goes to show how great 2K upscale can look when it's done right. And it's mainly down to the HDR colours. Now as good as the first movie looks, and trust me when I say it looks fantastic, but when you get to the second movie it does kick on in gears. Just check out the concert scene probably around a half an hour into that second movie. The HDR colours look some of the best you will ever see out there, and when them HDR colours clash with them blacks, it's absolutely jaw-dropping. It really is. And then when you check out chapter 3, it takes it that step further in terms of fine detail and HDR colours. And like I said, I felt it was only right to include this movie, or this trilogy, because they are 2K upscales, and I don't think 2K upscales get the kind of praise that they really should, particularly when they're done right. So there we go folks, that is my number 10 pick. And just in case you are wondering, I have done a video on this collection as well. If you are interested in checking it out, I will leave a link in the description below. So yes, that is my number 10 pick, that is the John Wick Collection. Right, so on to number 9 we go, and we have got the Resident Evil franchise. Now I know the movies themselves are a bit questionable, they're a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, but there is no denying how remarkable all of these look on 4K. One word comes to mind when it comes to this franchise: consistent. Every single one of them look absolutely incredible. Now I know there was a few people out there that wasn't crazy about the final chapter and how that movie looked on 4K, but I don't think that's anything to do with the picture quality. It's the movie itself and the way it was edited. Just fast edits, and it was very hard to appreciate how beautiful the picture did look on that final chapter. But it is the first 3 movies in particular that you will notice a substantial upgrade, particularly over the previous Blu-rays, especially when you see the second movie. The second movie is by far, I think, the best looking movie in this franchise, and when you stack it up against its Blu-ray, it really is a night and day difference. And there was no way that I was going to be able to put a top 10 together and not throw the Resident Evil franchise in there, folks. Honestly, they're some of the best 4K transfers you will see out there, and every single one of them support Dolby Atmos as well. And anyone that's seen the movies, there's a lot of music belting during every single one of these movies. And wait till you hear it in Dolby Atmos. It just lashes out of every single speaker, and I think you'll appreciate it. So there we go, that is my number 9 pick. That is the Resident Evil Collection. Right, so on to number 8 we go, and we have got the Matrix Collection. Now this one's actually quite easy to review because the original trilogy look absolutely identical to each other. It's scary how close they look to each other. Now I know there's going to be a few people out there that's not going to be too crazy to see this in my top 10 because the colour palette has been changed slightly, I'm going to say. Now you have to understand, when these came out on Blu-ray, the Blu-rays had a real strong green tint to them. And the green tint is still there, but it's been drastically reduced, and a lot of people didn't like it. Now I have to tell you, it did not bother me one bit, because when you actually just look at it, look at the 4K picture, just check out some of the fine detail that you see across the board here, and some of the inkiest and deepest looking blacks that you will ever see, and it just adds an incredible amount of depth to the picture. It is very hard to kind of complain when the palette is not as green as you want it to be. So yes, it never bothered me from the minute I seen the first Matrix movie on 4K. And I hope it doesn't put you off it either, because you are missing out on something very, very special in terms of picture quality if you do. The Dolby Atmos soundtrack, do I have to talk about it? We are talking about the Matrix here. It is demo worthy. Simple as. All 4 movies are demo worthy. Just check out the bullet time, particularly on the original trilogy. Just make sure that your shelves in your movie rooms, they're all bolted down tightly, because it's going to shake your room out of it. It just sounds that good. So there you go, folks. That is my number 8 pick. That is the Matrix Collection. Right, so on to number 7, and we have got the Back to the Future trilogy. Sorry about it, folks, the box set's quite big. Yeah, so when this got announced on 4K, I can't tell you how excited I was, as I'm sure that a lot of you were out there. But we were very cautious as well, because let's face it, the original Blu-rays weren't all they could have been. Now, I'm not saying they were bad, but there was definitely room for improvement there, and I have to tell you, they've addressed it, and what you get here is an incredible looking trilogy. Now, I'm going to say this a few times in this video. It's one of those trilogies that when you look at them, as great as the first movie looks, and folks, I have to tell you, it is absolutely jaw-dropping. By far the best the movie has ever looked, but it does get better and better with each movie. As incredible as it sounds, especially when you do see the first movie, trust me when I say it does get better, particularly the third movie. And let's face it, it was always going to be the best, because it's held in the Old West. You know, you got a lot of natural light in there as well, so it was always going to look remarkable, particularly with them HDR colours. And all 3 of them have Dolby Atmos as well, and just listen to Alan Silvestri's score through this entire trilogy, particularly the last movie, when Marty is on the train, when he's just about to go back to 1985. Just listen to the music playing. It is so grandiose, it sounds amazing. I've never heard it sound that good, that kind of just gives it a great sense of presence. It's just absolutely incredible, and I can't praise it enough. So there we go, folks. That is my number 7 pick, Back to the Future. What a trilogy. What a 4K transfer. Right, so on to number 6. We've got the Men in Black Collection. Now, no one seems to ever talk about these movies in terms of 4K, and I honestly do not know why, because it's a Sony release, and we know how consistent Sony are when it comes to 4K transfers, and this is no exception. So I'm just talking about the original trilogy here, folks. Let's ignore that 4th movie. Let's just pretend that it doesn't even exist. But it's one of them collections, again, when you knock it on. I knocked on the first movie, and it was like I was watching the movie for the first time again. It just looked that good. There was just an insane amount of fine detail, particularly when you see the facial details. There is just an insane amount of detail that just can be seen on it. And yeah, the first movie, just all around, just looked absolutely extraordinary on 4K. And I questioned whether or not the other 2 could stack up against the first one. And I'm happy to say that not only did they actually hold their own, but they actually surpass the first one in terms of 4K picture quality, particularly the third movie. It just looks that good. I can't single out one scene, because it's just one of those transfers that from start to finish, you just don't fully believe what you're actually looking at. It just looks that good. All 3 of them support Dolby Atmos as well, and I think you're going to be impressed by what you hear as well. Demo-worthy sound on all 3 of these movies just gives you a great sense of atmosphere, and that's exactly what you want to get from a Men in Black trilogy. So yes, folks, there you go. That is my number 6 pick, the Men in Black trilogy, and if you have not seen them on 4K, make sure you sort that out, because you're missing something quite amazing. Right, so on to number 5, and we have got the Batman Collection. And this is the original 4 movies. This is not going to include the Christopher Nolan movies. So I've said this to countless people when it comes to these movies on 4K, but to fully appreciate particularly the first 2 movies, the Tim Burton movies, I think it really helps if you have an OLED television. It just drastically improves them blacks that you see on the 4K of both of them movies. It just adds this insane level of depth to the picture. Now, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy it if you don't have an OLED television. Trust me, you will enjoy them. It just enhances the picture quite considerably if you do have an OLED television. And anyone that has an OLED television, I think you understand what I'm talking about, particularly with the first 2 movies. And then when you get the Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, the movies become considerably colourful. And I have to tell you, the HDR handles them colours beautifully. It's not overly aggressive, just looks very, very natural, and it is a sizable upgrade, this entire collection, over the previous Blu-rays. Not that the Blu-rays had a poor showing, they looked amazing themselves, but you will not fully realise how drastic the picture quality has changed when you actually watch these movies on 4K. And all four of them, again, support Dolby Atmos, and they sound absolutely extraordinary. I cannot praise it enough. So there you go, folks. That is my number 5 pick. That is the Batman collection. Right, so on to number 4 we go, and we've got the Monsterverse collection. Now, if I was to do a top 10 of the best sounding movies on 4K, chances are this collection would be number 1. You won't believe how great they sound. All four of them support Dolby Atmos. Now, you have to understand with me, this room that I'm in, it's actually separated from my house. It's actually right down the back of my garden. And it's well away from my neighbours. But even I was actually questioning whether or not my neighbours could hear these movies when I had them on the other night. It is just bombastic. Even my glass display cases that I have behind me, I actually thought they were going to shatter. They just sound that good. And thankfully, the 4K pictures are just equally as impressive as well in terms of picture quality. The first movie is very dark. It's incredibly dark. And I think the 4K disc handles it very, very well. Again, looks quite beautiful if you have an OLED television. Kong Skull Island is extraordinarily colourful. Easily the most colourful movie out of the four. And I think you'll appreciate the HDR colours that you're going to see on that one. Then King of the Monsters kind of takes basically them first two movies. It's very dark as well, but it can be very, very colourful as well. There's one scene in King of the Monsters in particular. There's a scene where someone says the sky looks like it's alive. Just check that scene out in 4K. In terms of fine detail and colour, it just looks incredible. And then you've got Godzilla vs. Kong. And I've said this countless times, but I think that is the standard of 4K picture quality. I think that is probably the greatest looking 4K transfer I have ever seen. And if you have not seen Kong vs. Godzilla on 4K, please do check it out. I think you are going to be blown away by it. So there you go, folks. That is my number 4 pick, the Monsterverse collection. Right, so on to number 3 we go, and we're getting down to the nitty gritty now. So we have got the Indiana Jones collection. And just like the Back to the Future collection, when this got announced, I was genuinely excited, but I was also very cautious because, let's face it, it's a Paramount release, and Paramount's track record on 4K isn't the greatest. But I'm happy to report they have delivered when it comes to this collection. It's a shame they couldn't deliver on the box set itself, which looks absolutely rubbish. But yes, the movies on 4K look incredible. Just like the Back to the Future collection, they get better and better with each movie. When you knock on the first movie, folks, the first thing you're going to say to yourself is there's no way that the rest of the movies can look as good as this first movie. Trust me, they get better. And I have to tell you, the biggest surprise out of all the four movies was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, believe it or not. I was never that impressed with the Blu-ray of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I think that got a marked improvement in terms of, picture quality on this 4K release. And even though, let's face it, it's not the greatest movie, it was great to see Paramount go through all the trouble. It would have been so easy for them to bring out the first 3 movies and do stellar jobs on them, and then do a half-assed job on the 4th movie. But I'm happy to say that they've done a great job with Kingdom. So if you are a fan of that movie, I think you're really going to appreciate what they've done with it. And yeah, all 4 of them again support Dolby Atmos. And wait till you hear the John Williams score during all 4 of these movies. I think you're just going to be blown away by it. So yeah, that is my number 3 pick. It is the Indiana Jones collection. Absolutely astonishing. Right, so on to number 2 we go, and we have got the Halloween collection. Now, I'm not being biased here, folks. I know I'm a massive fan of this franchise, but there is no denying the work that Scream Factory have done on all 8 of these movies. Now, I'm not talking about just this box set. I'm talking about the previous 5 that came before this as well. Again, that word consistency just comes to mind. All 8 are just monumental leaps over the Blu-ray, bar one movie, which was Halloween, the original Halloween movie. So yes, the most disappointing 4K transfer is the original movie. Now, folks, when I say the most disappointing, it still looks extraordinary. It really, really does. The problem is the Blu-ray, the previous Blu-ray looked amazing. And, you know, it just had its limitations, unfortunately. But the one good thing that they've done with the original movie, in terms of the 4K release from Scream Factory, they were able to brighten that picture up considerably. They've added a bit more colour to it as well. And I know that made a lot of people happy, because they felt that the Blu-ray looked simply too dark looking, too drab looking. So, yes, at least you did get that with the first movie. If I had to pick one in terms of drastic leaps, even though they all do, bar the first movie, that is, I think you have to look at the fourth movie, The Return of Michael Myers. Now, you have to understand, the Blu-ray that we had for that movie looked abysmal. It did. And to see what Shout Factory done with that 4K transfer is it's absolutely remarkable. It's like watching the movie for the first time again. I'm actually a big fan of Part 4. And I honestly never thought that they were actually able to get that movie looking the way they do. It is a huge testament to the work that Scream Factory put in this entire collection. The first 5 movies support Dolby Atmos as well, and you do get a great sense of atmosphere with them first 5 movies. Atmos really transformed these movies, particularly the first movie. Wow. It was like, you know, it's like almost like it's like I've never actually heard the movie before until I heard it on Atmos. And unfortunately, the last 3 movies, they didn't give us Atmos with it. But the 5.1 DTS that you do get on them do sound quite incredible as well. And yeah, it's one little nitpick that I had when it comes to this collection. But if you have not seen these movies on 4K, folks, you just have to check them out, especially if you have them on Blu-ray. You won't fully believe the drastic upgrade that you're going to get with them. So that is my number 2 pick. That is the Halloween collection. Right, so here we go, number 1 finally, and I think this was always going to be number 1 for me. We have got the Mad Max Anthology. So when these movies got announced on 4K, the original trilogy that is, I had every intention of stacking them up against Fury Road. Now, I done a video there around a year ago. It was my top 10 favourite 4K transfers with 2K digital intermediates. I had Fury Road at number 1, and rightly so. So like I said, yes, I was going to stack the original 3 up against that movie in terms of picture quality. And I have to tell you, what they have done with this original trilogy is mind-blowing. I cannot believe that these movies look as good as they do. It is a testament to the work that's gone behind the restorations on the trilogy. It's insane. Mad Max, I never thought that movie could look as good as it does. Now, I know Kino Lorber brought out a release for it on 4K. I don't know if it is the same 4K transfer you get inside this set, but it looks absolutely insane, remarkable. The only thing that's holding it back is it has a DTS 5.1 audio. It doesn't have a Dolby Atmos soundtrack. But having said that, it still sounds amazing. But you kind of find yourself wondering what it would have sounded like if there was an Atmos soundtrack there. But then when you get onto Road Warrior, that's when it gets very, very interesting. The level of fine detail that you see in that movie is easily the best out there. I think if I was to do a top 10 favourite 4K transfers on the format, Road Warrior would definitely be in my top 3. What they've accomplished with that movie on 4K is it's extraordinary. It has no business to look as good as it does. And the biggest testament that I think I can pay to that movie when it comes to picture quality, I think it looks better than Fury Road. Now, I know people are going to think I'm exaggerating there. I am not. Trust me, I'm not. And the Dolby Atmos soundtrack that you get on that almost rivals Fury Road as well. Not quite there, but it sounds quite amazing. It really is extraordinary. An extraordinary disc. And if you haven't seen the Road Warrior on 4K, trust me, folks, you just have to check it out. It's insane. It really, really is. Now, Beyond Thunderdome is definitely the softest presentation of the lot of them. But that's all down to source material, unfortunately. So take nothing away from that movie. It is by far the best it's ever looked. It's probably the best it's ever going to look as well. So that is my number 1 pick, folks. Mad Max, the Anthology Collection. If you have not seen this collection on 4K, please do check it out. I don't think you'll fully understand how amazing they actually are until you actually finally see them at home on your own setups and appreciate what's on show here. And they sound quite amazing as well. So just before I go, I just wanted to give you a heads up as well. A lot of the titles that I showed in this top 10, I showed off a lot of deluxe releases. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually leave, I've done videos for every single one of these releases. I'm going to leave links to every single one of the videos in the description below. And if you do want to check out some of these releases, please do check them out. And particularly these Steelbook box sets, I think they look beautiful. And I definitely think they are worth checking out. So there you have it, folks. That is my top 10. So as per usual, if you did like what you see here, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you could do, leave a comment down below. And please do share your thoughts in this top 10. I would love to hear what you're going to say out there. And yeah, I hope to see you all again real soon with my next video. Until then, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.